The name of today's topic of today's Torah portion is Jacob and the desperate housewives of Haran. So this is the story of Leah and Rachel and Zilpah and Bilhah. So we've already covered the story of two brothers, Jacob and Esau, and today we're going to go into the story of two sisters and how this, between one of those brothers and two of these sisters, they put together the whole family of Israel, along with the help of a couple of his wives. So let me get out of this, and now I'm going to go back here, and I hope we can laugh a little bit, and I hope we can take this seriously a little bit. So your notes that you have in front of you are not necessarily going to follow my talk, but just hang in there with me, okay? So this is the first thought I want to get across to you. We don't know what we don't know. Now, maybe in a connoisseur of the obvious, that makes total sense to me. Does it make sense to anybody else? We don't know what we don't know. Okay. And many Christians' worldview can be explained as follows. I know what I know, and that's all that I know, and don't confuse me with what I don't know, even if it's the truth. Okay? I don't care that the Easter Bunny, I know that the Easter Bunny is pagan, but don't confuse me with that. Don't tell me I can't do that.
I don't care.
Because I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition. It's one of my traditions. And then and the candy companies and all that kind of thing. Or let's see if we can simplify this down a little bit. All I know is what I've been taught, and that's the truth. Right? Okay. See how simple life is? I just explained it to you. Okay. This little guy will help us. Can somebody read that? Tina, can you read that? Get your glasses on and read that.
We don't know.
No, right here.
Oh, okay.
There's a little, wait a minute, let's explain the situation. We're in a classroom, probably, I don't know, 4th grade. Teacher's handing back the test. This little guy's got a D, this little girl has an A. And the little boy says to the teacher,
I would probably do a lot better if you would just teach me stuff I already know.
There you go. That's true, right? So,
Picture of that before you change.
okay. Let me just get a picture of that, okay? It'll be in the YouTube video.
Okay.
All right, no problem. Okay, so I have a question for you. Which came first, evil or death? It's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's kind of along those lines. Evil, okay, evil came first. I think I agree with you. First came evil or crafty. Here Genesis 3:15 says, now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, meaning the serpent did God really actually say, you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? How can one ask a lie? I thought about that a lot this week. How can somebody ask a lie? Ask a question that is a lie?
Because they want to plant reasonable doubt.
Reasonable doubt.
In your mind.
Okay. So the first lie was a question. And the first question was a lie. Okay, they kind of go together. The serpent got Eve and Adam to believe the serpent, and then death followed after that. All right, so we could say it, evil got Eve and Adam to believe that, right? Which came first? Death or evil? Here's the answer. Evil got Eve and Adam to believe him, and then death followed after that. Right? Okay, we're in agreement. Yay, I love it when... So let's make this perfectly clear. God had warned Adam and Eve that if they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they would die. But the devil, serpent, told Eve that God was a liar. God's a liar? Huh. And that they would not die. He said, you won't die. He knows that if you eat that, your eyes will be open, and you'll become like him. They believed the serpent, but they believed the serpent, Adam and Eve believed the serpent, that it was good for them to eat that, and they ate it, and they died. Was God a liar? No. Just want to make this thing perfectly clear. Okay, little guy. So here's what happened. They didn't believe God. They did eat from the tree. They and every one of their descendants after them died. As will we one day. Now, I have a question for you, because I read this, I went to grab this verse, and I looked at it, and I went, am I reading that wrong? It was almost like it was an optical illusion to me, because we have put things together differently. We've been taught differently, and all we know is what we've been taught, right? Okay. So is there something wrong here with this verse? Myra, could you read that, please?
See, see, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. In that I commanded you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. Deuteronomy 30:15-16.
Okay, this is at the end of Deuteronomy. This is the end of the covenant that Moses wrote down for them. This is the day that he died. This is what he said to them. Okay? Let's take a look. Life and good. Death and evil. And when I read that, my brain wanted to make this adjustment. Did yours? Life and death, good and evil. See, today I've said before you, life and death, good and evil. That's how we naturally... Does anybody put this together that way, or do you put it together this way?
Yeah.
You like the top one?
Yeah.
Well, that's because that's the way it was written. Where did we somewhere along the line, we've learned that it's this way. Did Moses make a mistake? Probably not. I found that if you want to take a picture of this, we will pause the camera or something. If you want to take, this is a great picture. Or else I can send it to you on an email. Tree of life, the Spirit of God, and this has got all the fruits of the Spirit up here and more: gentleness, faith, joy, peace, meekness, temperance, goodness, long-suffering. And guess what? The names of the tree, of the branches, are the Ten Commandments. And out of that's going to come the fruit, the tree of life, okay? I sure can. And on this side is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is the spirit of Satan, okay? Lies and deceit, all through it. This is the fruit. Fornication, strife, jealousy, disharmony, envy, human reasoning, vanity, competition. Very interesting, huh? Life and good. And death and evil. Okay? Now, here's the good thing, that why Jesus came, why Yeshua came, or what he did for us. Tree of life again. Now we got them facing this direction. Okay? He who has an ear to hear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. Revelation 2:21. And Yeshua accomplished this for us. In Romans 8:37 it says, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Pretty cool, huh? Yeshua has done a wonderful thing for us, and he conquered death. Okay? I want you to keep that in mind. He conquered death. Here, give you an idea of an optical illusion. Just want to let you just look at this for a couple seconds. This just blew my mind. It makes me crazy. Da da da! He got to the top. Whoop! Wait a minute. Wait, what? What? Let's try it again. Up, 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 And this right here is a single piece of paper. This is not a pad of paper. This is a single piece of paper. Optical illusion. Life and good, death. I just threw that in for free. Okay. Here's my question. If Yeshua overcame death by his resurrection and gave us the gift of life 2,000 years ago, then what have we been doing here for the last 2,000 years? What's the big deal of the last 2,000 years? Why? What? Anybody have an answer? Have you ever even thought about it? It's been your question. Good. Yeah, there you go. Has this tree passed away? This tree of the knowledge of good and evil? It hasn't. Where has all the evil gone? Gone to everyone, and that's the flowers. Where has all the evil gone? Did it go away at the resurrection? No, it did not.
Don't we have to accept it and walk in it?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we'll get to a reasonable answer. We tend to think in opposites rather than companions. We Christians, okay? Opposites, life and death, good and evil, as opposed to companions, life and good, death and evil. We just put things together that way somehow. So if we're going to obey or disobey, those are the choices that we have. Moses said, I put this before you today, life and good, choose this day, life and good or death and evil. If we choose to obey God's word, our choice leads us to life, and it's good. Right? Yeah. If I remember, God, when he was creating the 6 days of creation, then he rested on the seventh, he kept saying, this is good. This is good. By the time he got to the sixth day, he's going, this is really good. Life and good. Life is good. Okay. But if we choose to disobey God's word, which is what Adam and Eve did, our choice leads us to death and to evil. And the fruit of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil is just going to come bursting forth in people's lives, which is why we have to make a change. Because otherwise, we get some stinking thinking can get us to here. We can have stinking thinking. Too often, we assume that God's primary goal is to make us happy. Okay, Jesus, I accepted you as my personal Savior. Now, I expect you to make me happy. I expect you to bless me, and make me happy, and everything's just going to be okay. All the time, every day, 24 hours a day. I mean, after all, I accepted you and made you my God, didn't I? I did you this big favor. I'm yours. Right? Sounds like a plan. Maybe there's a little bit more. So that's not the point. I hate to burst any bubbles, but that's not the point, okay? So like Leah and Rachel that we're going to look at today, we allow that stinking thinking to shape our view of what's happening all around us, and that's all that they could. We're going to get into such sibling rivalry and family envy and so forth today. So my question is, how do you get to happy? How do you get there if we want to be happy? Huh? Choice. Man wants to get to happy wherever and whatever it looks like. God has dealt with the problem of death, right? He sent his son to defeat it. And if we no longer are destined to be, and therefore we're no longer destined to be separated from him when we die. If we die, it's a physical death, but our spirit is going to go be with him. For those people who don't know him, their spirit is going to go, they're just going to go. They're just going to go away. And they will be separated from God. That's terrible. What God is now doing in the last 2,000 years, he's been putting the evil that has corrupted the place where man has lived for 6,000 years. First he dealt with the death problem. Now he's going to deal with the evil problem. And this is where you guys come in. This is where his people who are now endowed with his spirit, which we're going to celebrate next weekend, on Shavuot, the return of the Spirit to live inside of man once again. Now he's expecting those people to help him put down the evil. True. Takes 2,000 years to do that. Let's see. So I got to calculating. I got my pencil out and I went, all right, Lord, from creation to Abraham, it was 2,000 years about. From Abraham to, and that was establishing the whole family, the whole thing that we're going through here in the Torah. And from Abraham to Yeshua was 2,000 years. And from Yeshua to now is 2,000 years. Oh my goodness. It's like each group, couple of days, people had a specific job to do. Maybe. Maybe not. What do we got next? We are well. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. Or actually, we're going to get to it right now. How do you get to happy? Here we go. Here we go. Boom. God is now putting down the evil that has corrupted the place where man has lived for 6,000 years. And it looks like this, on a really small, minute scale, right?
It's like an earthquake happened. That's right.
An earthquake did happen. The mess that evil has made is now being cleaned up, even as we speak. That's what's happening now in our world. It may look messy, but cleanup is always messy. It's always messy. Hang on and wait for the big reveal. You know the reveal? Wait till we see what this thing is going to look like. But do your part to help clean up the mess on aisle 6. Please.
It's called restoration.
It's called restoration. That's exactly what it is. He's restoring. The kingdom has been being established, and we don't even realize it because there's been so much evil in the world. And right now, it is everywhere. It is everywhere, and it's evident to everybody. At least to all of God's kids. And to other people, I don't know what people who don't know Jesus, what they think is going on. What do they think is going on? It's just the way it is. It's just the world that we're living in. And now we need to head towards socialism and communism and slavery. That'll solve it, right? Yeah.
So, Susan?
Yes, ma'am.
So, we're the ones who agreed with evil in the first place.
We came into agreement.
And so we're the ones he's allowing to clean it up.
If you made a mess in your room, go clean it up, right? That's what you did with Bella last night, right? She made a mess with the cards, and Bella had to clean them up.
Or
Yep.
another version is there's a lot of darkness. And it's midnight and it's darkness, and you need to be that candle in the room to light up
Yes.
and illuminate the room. Because we know at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun is going to start to rise,
Yep.
and then the power and light of the sun will overpower that little candle. But we're supposed to be that light until the sun brings his light and takes care
Right.
of the darkness.
What we're not supposed to be is trying to add to the mess.
Right.
Don't try to add to the mess, but do your part to clean it up. You okay, Angie? Okay. Okay. All right. All right, so that was my little, I don't know what that was an intro to, but I think it was an intro to something. But at any rate, so last week's review, and we're going to take just an honest look backwards. The truth is that the good old days, we're not going to return to the good old days. Okay? The good old days haven't been good, or haven't even been with us since the Garden of Eden. We've been in a mess since then. And because of sin, families have always been dysfunctional. I guess that's my point. Okay? Because of sin, because of the situation there in the garden, families have always been dysfunctional. The good news is that God doesn't reserve his love and grace for perfect families, because there aren't any. Because there aren't any, okay? No. We will see this on display in the next few chapters about there's not a perfect family, okay? This will be real evident. And God can and will use this dysfunctional family of Jacob's family to carry out his plans, okay? So last week, here we were. That's a beautiful map. From Beersheba, which is where Jacob and Esau and Isaac and Rebekah were all living, Beersheba, to Haran, which is up there in Syria, see way up there at the top of the map, is 550 miles. It would take him a month to walk there. Okay? Jacob heard, last week, Jacob heard from God, and he received the blessing and the call that he was going to be the next patriarch of this family. I mean, boom, he'd gone up so far, up here to where Jerusalem is. It was called Luz at the time. And there was a ladder going up and down. He saw angels going up and down, and God pronounced the blessing over Jacob. And Jacob accepted it. Okay? But, by the way, Jacob is 70 years old, and he has no wife, and he has no descendants yet. Okay? Keeping that in mind, here we go. And when Jacob got to the well, he liked what he saw, or who he saw. And this man with a blessing and a promised future wants this woman to be the mother of his descendants. Okay? She will make him happy. Well, we'll find out. And Jacob loved Rachel and said to her father Laban, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, for your younger daughter. Okay, he got real specific. He made a very specific deal. Rachel, 7 years instead of money. 7 years of service instead of money. Because the guy left so fast he didn't bring anything with him except his personality. That's all he brought, okay? He had nothing to offer except his labor. Okay. So just as Jacob used a disguise and his father's blindness, Laban uses the cover of a veil to disguise Leah. When he gets Leah instead of Rachel, in other words, first. Okay? Now, this story in Scripture reads an awful lot like a soap opera. And Laban, Rachel's father, conspires with his daughter Leah, the less attractive sister, to hand her over in marriage instead because she was the oldest, and he explained to Jacob, listen, in our culture, the oldest one has got to get married first. So that's why you got Leah. Now, if you want Rachel, I'll get you, finish out her week, Leah's week, and I'll give you Rachel. And then you can serve me another 7 years. Okay? All right. That's what happened. So a few hints that you might be headed for or in a dysfunctional family, okay? So, poor Jacob. I mean, the guy worked he's 70 years old now, he's 77. He worked for 7 years and it just seemed to fly by. He was so in love with this woman. And he went and the next one, guess what? It was Leah, it wasn't Rachel. And so in 1 week's time, Laban came and fixed it, right? Well, you just finish out her week, and in another week I'll give you Rachel, then you can work 7 more years. I just said that, right? So in 1 week later, boom, Jacob has 2 wives, and that's one too many. And this whole story is about to get very messy, okay? So here's a few hints you might be in a dysfunctional family. If you have this kind of a sign, welcome to Dysfunction Corporation. We are not a company, we are a family. And every family probably has these, okay? We have the CEO also in the living room, right? A vice president of corporate heroes and peacemakers. Somebody else is the company scapegoat and information services, and the lost child and chief financial officer is another one. So if that fits some of your roles or whatever. And anyway, now we'll get on to the Jacob and the desperate housewives of Haran. We're going to be in Genesis. I should have had you turn there first. Genesis 29, 31 to 21. It would be on page, not very far, page 49, 47, 37, okay. And Bill, you're all hooked up, are you? Okay, just a second, don't do anything yet, don't go anywhere yet, okay. First we're dealing with 2 sisters today, and I want you to know, how many of you ladies have sisters? Oh, we all do, look at this, okay. Bella, you have a brother, you don't have a sister. Okay, well, let me tell you about sisters. I've got 3 of them. No, I love each and every one of them. They're wonderful. But sisterhood is very powerful, but it's very complex. It's a very complex relationship. And although Rachel and Leah have much in common as sisters, their experiences vary widely. They move through the world differently and are treated differently by different people around them. And that can be true, right? 2 sisters, and they are in charge. These 2 sisters are in charge of the family of Israel. Okay, same father, but there's going to wind up being 4 different mothers of all these tribes. Okay, so the world, and this is where we need to start. I love this picture. The world is a very broken place. And the world is a very broken place. God's kingdom's not a broken place. That's where we're headed. Okay? And he's finishing up the cleanup on aisle 6 in the world system. But the world of man has a broken heart. And the only fix comes through the dysfunctional family that we're introduced to today. And I was sitting here looking at this yesterday morning, and it just came to me. This thing is laid out like a song. Jacob's family, this Torah portion is put together like a song. It's like I don't know what the melody, I don't mean that, but I mean it's put together like a song. So a song, I talked to the this music teacher that I know, you know. Song has verses, and it has a chorus, and it has a bridge. And a song has got to have a chorus, verses and a chorus, but it doesn't have to have a bridge, right? And tell them what a bridge is.
A bridge is like a connection that may only happen one time in a song, and it connects the verses with the chorus, and it gives a break in the song. It has a different melody, and it has different words.
Okay, a little different. Okay, all right, a little something different going on there. A little break. Okay.
Guitar solo in the middle.
Yeah. And a drum roll at the beginning. Okay. Okay, let me grab a drink here because I won't be able to hold this together. Okay. I'm not being irreverent. I'm trying to be a good teacher to give you guys a concept of what this all looks like, okay? Okay, so newlyweds, Jacob finishes his week with Leah, but his heart belonged to somebody else. We know that, right? Everybody knows that. So this is where we left off last week. It's sad but true.
Yeah.
Leah was the timid, less pretty older sister, and Rachel was the one who got all the attention. And that is very evident on the face in this picture here, right? The body language, wow. Okay. 1 week later, now it's just 1 week later. One week later, Rachel and Jacob are married. And he's on his way to happy, right? You ready? Here's Rachel, and here's Leah. Right? You get the feeling from the wedding pictures that this is not going to end well, right? Okay. And these are the patriarchs and the matriarchs of Israel. Now, lest we put them up, I mean, they're people. I've been stressing this and stressing this and stressing this over the last few weeks. These guys are people. And they make mistakes, and they're fleshly people just like we are. They were chosen. God had them do a particular good job, right? And he spoke to them, and they heard from him, and that kind of thing. And sometimes Myra gets talked to by God, and he gives her a special thing to do. But Myra's still Myra.
I'm a mess.
You're a mess. but real. These are real people. They are not saints. For those of you who come from a Catholic background, and you have all these pictures of all these saints, so and so, and oh my goodness, no, they were people. Those people were people too. Okay. All right. That's the point I guess I'm trying to make. All right. Here we go. Listen to this. These are what these guys said. She's my sister. She's my sister. I didn't put that in there twice on purpose. That really happened. Abraham and Isaac both made that statement, right? About their wives. Tell him you're my sister. sing it, you can just say it, but I want you to do it all together, and I want you to do it in harmony. Okay, here's the chorus. Jacob, what are you guys going to say?
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. That's his part of the chorus. Okay, Leah, what do you say?
Will he ever love me?
And
Will ever.
Rachel, will I ever have his baby? That's the chorus of this song, okay, that kind of runs through. Alrighty. Huh? I don't know what the music is. That's not my department.
Could we have the drum roll?
Oh, yeah. Okay, 31 through 13, William. And we're going to get into the second verse, which is sister envy. Let's see what this looks like.
Okay. Now, oops. Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die." And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of your womb?" So she said, "Here is my maid, Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, so that I may have children by her." Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as wife. And Jacob went in to her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "A troop comes." So she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed." So she called his name Asher.
Okay, she finally Leah got the happy. Now, I know that in their culture is much different than our culture. Their culture, you had to have children, or a lot of people thought you were cursed if you didn't have children. So that's the reason why take her, and she'll have a baby for me. Okay, you know, much different than today, when the evil that it's exposing itself today is saying we can abort babies after they're born, even. That's really bad. It's not convenient. I don't want to have this baby. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. Can't even imagine. It's much different than their culture. But that's just one reason why the evil is rising up, and it's everywhere, and it's trying to take over everything. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're dealing with different cultures here, but that's one of the reasons why. Because if you had a large family, you're going to have a success, because it was hard work. The work that they didn't get on a subway and go to work, you know, for some big corporation. They worked the land and the animals and so forth. So it was a different culture.
Susan, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know did they ever ask Jacob, would this work for you?
No. We're going to get to Jacob's attitude here in just a minute. He never said no.
No, he said yes. Sounds good. 4 women. I'm going to be busy. Every night.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right. Newlyweds, Jacob and Rachel. Rachel is barren. Rachel becomes jealous of her sister. Rachel said, "Give me children or I'll die." Where else did we hear that? Almost that very same phrase.
Rebecca.
No?
Sarah.
Stew. The stew. The stew. What's that birthright to me? I'm so hungry, I'm gonna die. Give me the soup, I'll give you the birthright, whatever, right? Yeah. Give me the soup or I'll die. Give me children or I'll die. That's a little hyperbole, right? Okay. Jacob becomes angry, and we'll get to that a little bit more here in just a minute. And Rachel said, I have had a great struggle with my sister. All right, so these are the, all right, so we're now into sister envy or sibling rivalry. And that, I looked up the definition. Envy, it's a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's qualities or luck. Okay, this is, the Bible would call it coveting. Thou shalt not covet. Okay, wanting something that's not yours. All right. Baby shower. Rachel said to Jacob, give me children or I'll die. Jacob says to Rachel, it's not my problem. Take my, I think I just said this too. Oh, Rachel, take my maid Bilhah. She has 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali. Leah to Jacob, take my, here we go. See the competition going back and forth? Rachel gives her a maid. Leah gives her her maid. Take my maid Zilpah, Gad and Asher. And now, and Asher, which means happy. Leah thinks she's now happy because, oh yeah, this baby shower is going to go. They never had a baby shower, by the way. It just, not going to happen. Okay. Yeah. So this has become Jacob's life here in these, in the 7-year period, whatever. That's open to conversation too. But jealousy. Each day is another day in paradise, if you will, right? Jealousy and bitterness and revenge and betrayal and competition and open hostility, not to mention the shameless willingness to use other people, the maids. And we get a sense that this is how it's going to be every day for them. Okay? This is not a happy family. We come not from a happy family. Interesting, huh? There's no let up, and when one gives birth, the other women aren't exactly planning a baby shower. I guess that's the idea. But they're stewing and they're strategizing their next moves. And words, you know, words can cause an awful lot of pain. Words can be turned into weapons. They can be words used for encouragement and building up, but they can also be weapons, and they can cause a lot of pain. Leah, who is longing to be loved by her husband. Rachel, who has, this is a, so will they, the soap opera thing. Leah, who's longing to be loved by her husband. Rachel, who has her man but cannot have children. The obvious silence of Zilpah and Bilhah, they never said anything. And of course, the sensitivity of Jacob, who says, hey, it's not my fault that you can't get pregnant. It wasn't. I mean, obviously the man was very, had a high sperm count, right? I mean, he was very fertile. Clearly, there's just a little bit of tension going on in this house. And poor Jacob, he's just a little bit, you know. Men don't like confrontation in the first place, you know, with their wives, let alone 4 of them. So, what? That's what he gets. Okay. Yeah, so at the end of this quarter, at the end of this time, it's Leah 6 and Rachel 2, if you will. Okay? And these two do not belong to hello. These two do not belong to Rachel, they belong to her handmaid. So it's almost like, who's going to win this competition? Team Leah or Team Rachel? Their identity has become so wrapped up in who could birth the most children for Jacob that they're even involved their maids in the competition, because this was apparently a tag team competition. You go. Between all 4 ladies, there would be born 12 sons and 1 daughter. Okay? All right. So here's our chorus again. Okay, you ready? We're ready for the chorus. Jacob says,
it's not my fault.
and Leah says,
will you ever love me?
And Rachel says,
will I ever have this baby?
There you go. Very good. Okay. Now we'll get to the bridge part of this song, the mandrakes, verses 14 to 21.
Now Reuben, who went in the days of wheat and harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" And Rachel said, "Therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." And he lay with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my wages, because I have given my maid to my husband." So she called his name Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, "God has endowed me with good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons." So she called his name Zebulun. Afterward, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah.
Okay, there's 3 more kids for Leah. Alrighty, look at this. Mandrakes. So now we're at the bridge. This is the part that doesn't sound like the rest of the parts. This is the part that's going to connect them together, though. So the firstborn Reuben picks mandrakes at the time of the wheat harvest and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel says to Leah, "Give me, I pray thee." This is King James English. "Give me, I pray thee." And the NIV says, "Please, of thy son's mandrakes." I looked it up in the Hebrew. Nope. I pray thee is too polite. There is no I pray thee or please in the Hebrew. It was give me. And it's in the imperative form. It's an order or command. Okay, there was no politeness about this here whatsoever. Okay? Reuben, Leah's oldest son, when he brought them to his mother, so Leah has possession of them, and Rachel wants them. So Rachel buys them in exchange for Jacob sleeping with Leah. Does this sound? This just gets weird. It just gets, she's. I won't say the word anyway. Rachel had her husband Jacob, but could not give him a son, so she sold him for mandrakes that belonged to Leah. That's just amazing. So these 2 ladies make a deal. Jacob for mandrakes. Okay? Now somebody's going to ask me,
What are mandrakes?
thank you. What are mandrakes anyway? Okay, so this is what they are. It's a plant out in the desert, and the odd thing about them is they look like the roots look like humans. This is what. Okay, so I looking at pictures and I'm just going, oh, look at those are very sexual kind of the more you look at it, this is where Harry Potter does something with mandrakes, with this the thing. It's an aphrodisiac and so forth, and then whatever. Okay, they were used in fertility medicine back in the Bible days, and so at any rate that kind of a leaf and that kind of a fruit and this kind of a seed and those kind of roots, okay? But they look like people.
Ginseng looks something like that.
Ginseng does?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Maybe they're related or something. When you look at this stuff, it's very poisonous. Somewhere or another, yeah. That's some of the stuff I read at any rate, but that's not the point. The important thing is that Reuben, I don't know why Reuben was getting mandrakes, but he brought him back to his mother, maybe because he wanted her to be pregnant, probably. He wanted another brother. At any rate, so Leah now has Jacob and Rachel has the mandrakes, and God listened to Leah and he gave her Issachar and Zebulun. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. That's a real treasure in those days, in Bible days. 6 sons, that's a lot. You get a lot of work out of them, right? There you go.
Yeah.
And Jacob's only daughter was born also. So now Leah has given birth to 8, or she has 8 on her team, and Rachel has 2. Okay? And let's see. Surely I think I've already done this. Why am I going backwards? I'm going backwards? Okay. Verse verse 3, God remembers, are we all the way down here? We're at 22, right? Yeah, okay. 22 to 24. We'll finish this up. Verse 3, God remembers Rachel.
Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, send me away, that I may go to my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children.
No, we're going to stop at 24, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, stopping at 24.
Oh, well,
yeah.
yes, that's what it says.
Yep, yeah. Okay. So I was just looking at this. She's got to, do you have to go?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Bye. Happy birthday, Bella. All right. So God gave her a baby boy, and she says he's taken away my reproach, and she named him Joseph. Now, I just caught this just right now, because the name Joseph doesn't mean reproach or taken away reproach. It means added to. He will add. She was wanting more already, and she hasn't even hardly held the baby yet, and she's wanting another one. You know what I mean? Give you an idea? A little bit of an idea? Okay. Oh, yeah. Give me more, give me more, give me more. Okay. Jacob. We have time for one more chorus. Go ahead. Jacob.
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. Leah?
Will he ever love me?
Rachel.
Will I ever have his baby?
There you go. She finally has one. Okay. All right. Now we've got score here. We're going to wind up with 8-3. 8 sons. She's got a daughter too. 8 sons, and Rachel's got 3, counting the ones that her maid gave her. So Jacob's children. We'll leave these guys right here for this week. Rachel has one more son to give birth to. Okay. But she won't do that until they have crossed over in the land. Now, this is the kind of, I found this picture. It was in the file of Mrs. Thompson's Sunday school pictures. Did his family ever look like this? It never did. Photo, I'm giving credit, Mrs. Thompson, First Baptist Church, corner of 7th and Oak. There it is. It really does exist. To tell the truth, they never really looked like that. Maybe they had a couple of days. Who knows? Maybe they all got together and Dad smiled and put his arm around him and told him he was proud of him. I don't think he did. Don't think he did. It was the mandrake. So here's the meaning, because everybody always wants to know what the meanings are. I put them on the back of your notes. Reuben is, has something to do with seeing, and Simeon has something to do with hearing and attached, and Judah is I will praise the Lord, and Dan is a judge, and Naphtali is wrestling, I've struggled. Gad is a good fortune. Asher is happy. She finally got the happy. Issachar is my reward. Zebulun, now he will dwell with me. Leah thought, and Joseph, he's added unto me another son. And Benjamin will be son of his right hand. So there you go. All right, we're almost done. I think we're almost done. I don't want us to miss the point completely. This family that we've been introduced to today is to be called Israel in a few chapters, but it begins today with the birth of these sons. So Jesus, or Yeshua's family tree, says he includes broken people in his family. Hallelujah! Otherwise, most of us wouldn't be in it. Okay, he is God with us, and God values all families, even the dysfunctional ones. He can take the worst of the worst people and transform individuals into brand new creations. Hallelujah. Okay? We say all this to say that when we take a look at these folks, they are as human as we are. And they too were made up of the same stuff of fallibility and in need of God's grace just as we are. They aren't any different than Tina and me. Okay? Same thing. Families, we all come from some kind of a family. Right here. Can somebody read that? This is the kind of family we want to come from, or we think maybe we came from. At least on certain days we came from this kind of a family, right? Somebody read that. Can anybody read that? No? Family rules. Always remember to say I love you. Smile a lot. Work hard, but play harder. Think before you talk. Do your best. Be sweet. Say please and thank you. Respect others and aim for the stars. Think big. Those are good goals for a family to have. Those kind of things should be up on walls. Those should be pictures on walls in rooms. Okay? However, dysfunctional family rules. Chew with your mouth open. Jump on the bed. Slam the doors. Use your outside voice inside. Make a mess. Embarrass each other in public. Stay up late. Eat dessert first. Have food fights. Disregard good advice. Blame the dog.
Wow.
We put the fun in dysfunction, okay? The truth is that all of us are kind of a combination and a blend of both, right? And that's what America is. That's what America is. We are a blend of all this from all the countries of the world. And this is the mess that we're trying to clean up, and we can if we'll just get along with one another, right? Okay. So we'll leave it there. I think we'll leave it there. Yes, ma'am.
So, if you don't get, you can go all the way back generations, but if you just go to Laban, if Laban had faith in God, which he didn't.
Which he didn't, right?
But if he did.
But if he did.
Then he could have looked at his two daughters and he could have said, Rachel, you're betrothed to Jacob. Leah, you're older, but I have faith in God and we will pray for you to have a husband. And all of this would have been avoided.
Yes. Yes.
It would have all, wouldn't it?
It all would have been avoided. If they had, okay, and if they hadn't done the golden calf, all of this would have been avoided. And if the spies hadn't come, believed in, all of this would have been avoided. And if Eve hadn't eaten that silly apple, all of this would have...
No, but you're right. I mean, no matter where you go, you find it.
Yes, it's dysfunction,
and
yes.
if you look in your own life, just look in your own life. If you say in your own life, boy, if I hadn't, then all this would have been avoided.
But for God's grace, right? Yes, and that's where Yeshua comes in, and the grace and mercy that He has. He died because of our sin, and He's resurrected. So He's no longer He's not mostly dead. He's all alive.
So
He's conquered it, right?
I didn't get done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you didn't get. I'm sorry. Excuse me. So.
But I have to keep going, or I'll forget.
Okay.
So. I might have already forgotten.
No.
It's a senior moment.
No. It's there. It's there.
My mind is. So it's no surprise to God that we do all these things that we're sorry we did, and it was no surprise to God that all this happened with His family.
Right. No.
I mean, He knew.
Right. He knew. Sure, He did.
And so here comes Rachel. Finally, she has Joseph. And we all know what happens to Joseph.
Yes.
Talk about a blessing.
Yes.
God gave to Rachel.
Yes. Yes.
In spite of all
this stuff. Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, very good. It's something. This is it's a fascinating story, and when we look at it and we make it real, we try to put flesh and bones on these people, a little bit, and make them real, even in our and relate a little bit to even our own culture. It makes it easier to understand it. It makes it not just black words on a white page, a storyline kind of a thing. They're real and they're concepts. We can understand them. God has made this book so that we can understand it, and He wants us to. And it's a beautiful thing. Okay, the end for this.